Today we have a very interesting theme. We will work in the mixed technique and we will make a wall panel with sunflowers in a watering can. We have an uneasy work to do, as we will study the ribbon embroidery together with the decoupage technique. We hope that the combination of these two techniques will like you and you use our advices and recommendations for creating your handmade masterpieces. Hello, my name is Natasha Fokhtina, and I am glad as always to welcome you in our studio. I suggest to give up our new lesson to a decoupage and the most interesting technique, like the ribbon embroidery. I think that it's time to us to address to it, as today we will have a decoupage on a fabric. Perhaps I will tell you about the decoupage later, but I suggest to have a closer acquaintance with the technique ribbons. If we look in the historical past of this kind of needlework, you begin to understand why it's so popular and interesting now. So, silken ribbons embroidery is one of the most ancient kinds of the folk needlework. It's rooted to the ancient times and is connected with rising in ancient China the art of producing silk. For the first time, the silk thread was found out in 2614 BC by the wife of the Chinese Emperor Huanzi, beautiful Xin Lipqi, who had the nick the goddess of silkworms. According to a legend, the empress has stumbled across the cocoons of the silkworm, which threads have very much interested her on the traditional work. Having tested a thin thread, she has decided to unwind the cocoons and to try to weave from threads a cloth. The emperor and his surroundings were delighted with the lightness and the beauty of a fabric, and after a time China became the largest exporter of a silk fabric and ribbons. Almost 2 centuries, the Chinese kept the secret of a strange cloth. However, already in the 1st century, the natural silks and ribbons from them, made in the country of the rising sun and delivered on the Great Silkway to Europe, were replaced in the market by cloth from bambucini, the threads made from a wild silkworm. These fabrics were made in Greece on the Kos island. But, despite the replenishment of the market by the new beautiful material, the price on silk didn't fall and was equated with gold cost. Therefore, decorated the clothes with the silken ribbons could only the people of quality and the representatives of the imperial family. Only the attires for the solemn ceremonies and the guest nights embroidered with the silken ribbons and color of the ribbon at the time was the original indicator of the birth and the social status. Up to the Middle Ages, the silken ribbon was in short supplies. However, in the middle of 14th centuries, the skill of making silk has reached Italy, where the climatic conditions have contributed to the breeding of a silkworm. From this point on, the silken ribbons embroidery became accessible for the wider circle of the population. The heavy portières in the spacious halls were tied up with ribbons, decorated the furniture and the canopies, and also made the beautiful pictures. Only a century after it, in 1446, when the court of Rome has moved to live in Avignon in care of Louis XIV, the French king has summoned the Italian masters for training the weaving case of the handicraftsmen of France. The best Italian engineering tools for manufacture of silk and manufacture of the silken ribbons have been delivered in Lyons, and shortly all elite of France wore the chic clothes. Every year, the demand for the silken ribbons and fabrics were increased, and their use became wider. For example, Louis decorated with beautiful ribbons and expensive stones even the footwear. All France has plunged into the thoughtless style of Rococo. The handmade knickknacks, which the gentlemen made with their own hand in a large quantity, become the fashionable gift for their beloveds. The dresses of the court ladies became volume and were decorated with a lot of expensive expensive ribbons. In 18th century in France, there was a first, similar with modern, the silken ribbons embroideries. The Rococo flower patterns drawn by silken ribbons on the expensive dresses came to take the place of the silk border. Then fashion has passed to the underwear. Husbands were delighted from the refined and tempting roses embroidered with the elegant ribbons on stocking and chemises of their wives. The decline of the silk art has come with the beginning of the Second World War and the severe crisis. In the post-war time, the world was captured by the mass emancipation and the chic romantic style has left on the second plan. And only more recently, the great designers of clothes and the interior began to come back to a decor with silken ribbons. There is nothing more perfectly than easy, air, natural and glazed fabric. And not only the great designers, but also many masters haven't forgotten this graceful kind of needlework. I think that we also can pick up this baton, especially this kind of needlework quite accessible economically and not such difficult technologically. Only the needles and the ribbon will be necessary for us for work, and not necessarily the silk. It's possible to begin with satiny. Today we will master only two kinds of the ribbons embroidery, a stitch with a curl. It also names a tape stitch and the French small knot. Believe me, it's quite enough to try your hands in the ribbons embroidery, and we leave for later various roses and bows. The most important thing is to understand what materials are necessary to us and how to use them. So, for work we need sharp goblin needles. For tapes of 3 and 6 mm, approach number 16 or 15, and for tapes more than 6 mm, number 14 or 13. It's possible not to search for a needle by numbers. The most important thing is that the ribbon go into a needle ear. We embroider on any fabric. If a fabric is thin, we can condense it with the glutinous fleece. It's possible to embroider with ribbons without the timbre, as it can leave a footprint, and we can't iron tapes differently, we will lose volume. I've already spoke about ribbons. It's possible to use silk, satiny and even capron threads and even different weaving. All depends what you decide to embroider. There are no rules in this respect. There is only one exception for this embroidery. We never use two-sided satiny ribbons. There are the rules in an embroidery. For example, before work, we do the laundry, all ribbons, and we iron them. If you do it, the ribbon becomes softer, will be more brilliant, and you know whether it fades. It's very important too, especially if you decided to do not a decorative embroidery, but decide to decorate something from clothes. So, we begin from the beginning, answering the question how many ribbons it's necessary to cut off to begin the embroidery. I answer 30–40 centimeters are quite enough, the ribbon doesn't lose the shape during the embroidery. To thread a needle it's necessary to cut off the ribbon's end obliquely and to thread it in a needle ear. Further, we stretched the ribbon so it was possible to pierce through it in several millimeters from edge with the needle edge. Pierce through and tighten the ribbon. We have such small knot on the needle ear. Now we need to give shape to the other end of the ribbon, as we can't make a usual small knot. We do like this: put the ribbon and pierce it through. We get here such a fixator on the end. Now it's possible to begin an embroidery. Probably I hurry up and you want to ask me how to outline a pattern of the fabrics. Everything is very simple. You can outline something by means of a pencil or a chalk, or attach to a base a tracing paper with a drawing and embroider through it. And then remove the paper rests or use a ready print with a ready drawing. Then it's completely not necessary to outline a pattern. Or you can make at first a decoupage on a fabric. Such variant I like the most of all. I have prepared it to you. So, let's begin our work. We take the tambour and put a fabric on it. I like most of all the flags for an embroidery, therefore I took it. It dense enough and well keeps and ribbons. I have prepared such a picture. It's a rice paper and work with it will be a bit more difficult than to paste on the fabric the drawing from a 3-layer napkin. But I wanted that this watering can with sunflowers decorated my panel. Before starting to paste the drawing to the fabric, it's necessary to separate it from the extra paper. I cut out the watering can by scissors, as I need the accurately outlined drawing, and the bucket I pull out, as the embroidery will hide the drawn edges. Further, we can paste the picture, so we have a decoupage on a fabric. Therefore, we take special textile glue and brush it over the drawing. I notice that if you have very dense rice paper, I recommend it at first to glue, then to put the picture and glue once again. After the drawing will merge with the fabric, you dry it and iron on the inner side for 5 minutes. Further, we need to work with the product's background. At first, we take a yellow paint on the fabric and put it around the bucket. We don't paint all background, but we add colors here and there. It's possible to take a violet paint and add it for contrast, or take the brown one and beat off the drawing from the background. Also, I want to add here a little dark blue color, as it is in the bucket. There will be a reflex on the background. You can imagine everything and can manage one color. After the background will dry up, we take a white paint and with a thin brush draw the watering can. You shouldn't add colors to it, but the patches of light won't prevent, differently it seems absolutely flat. Also, it's possible to illuminate the background around the bucket with the whitewash. We work with a dry brush, smearing the paint on the fabric. Now our drawing will be ready to starting to decorate it with the ribbons. Now we start to embroidery the ribbons. We take the yellow satiny ribbon, cut off its end angularly, and we put into the sharp needle with a big ear. Further, we pierce like this by the needle the beginning of the ribbon, and we pull it from below. The first stage is finished, the ribbon is filled. Now we need to issue the ribbon end. We put it like this, pierce the needle and pull. As a result, we have such remarkable fastening, and we can at once start to embroider. As I already said, for work we need to learn to do only one stitch, either a stitch with a curl or a ribbon stitch. We stretch the ribbon to the front side of the product. Press it with the front side to the outline, and on the distance of the demand length of a stitch, we enter the needle into the center of the ribbon and we stretch it on the seamy side. The demanded length of a stitch in the given variant is the length of a petal of our flower. It's necessary carefully tighten the ribbon that the curls remain on the front side of the embroidery, as the embroidery is considered as volume. We embroider in a similar way, a stitch with a curl, all yellow petals on the sunflowers. If you want, as well as I, to bring in work the orange color, in the embroidery ribbons it's welcome. The more colors, the more interesting and more volume it will be. Many masters manually paint ribbons in different colors and embroider with them. It's possible to embroider with orange ribbons the watering can. It will look quite interesting and Elsa will recover it. Now we pass to the French small knots. They are made also simply and look very effectively. We stretch the ribbon on the front side of the outline, place the needle parallel to the plane of the outline, round the ribbon 2 or 3 times, hold the ribbon and stick the needle in a point close to an input of the needle and move it on the seamy side. In the same way, we make the orange small knots on our bouquet. I want to underline the dark blue flowers. Therefore, I took the dark blue ribbon and embroidered the same petals, as well as that sunflowers, only made them slightly more shortly. It's again our stitch with a curl. We embroider the bouquet leaves with the curls. As in the drawing we already have the drawn leaves, we take one color ribbon, for example light green. The various threads, for example the moulinet thread or the thin yarn iris, in those cases when it's necessary to highlight the middle of the flowers or to embroider the branches, often used in the embroidery ribbons. At first we embroider with the yellow iris the middle of the dark blue flowers, and then we take the brown moulinet threads and embroider the middle of the sunflowers. We remember how to do the French small knot. We pierce the fabric. We wind the thread around our needle a few times and stick it near the inlet, stretching on the seamy side. When you finish the embroidery, you can take the thread again and underline any details, for example berries, or finish any elements of our bouquet. But it's possible not to do as our handmade bouquet will look excellently without it.
I think that today we have enough talked about the ribbons embroidery. We haven't a lot of information in this program, and we have made only one panel, but we have combined the decoupage and the ribbons embroidery in one product, having saved a lot of time and having had the necessary skill. I want to give you one more advice. If you like the ribbons and embroidery, don't try to do everything perfect. For example, measure the length of petals and stalks. The embroidered work should be live and mobile. Thanks to the various roughness of leaves and flowers, and thanks to the warm form, the embroidery seems more natural. It is a big plus of this kind of needlework. From here we have a conclusion that even the beginning masters will take the pleasure of working and of a result that I wish you. I say goodbye to new ideas. There was Natasha Fokhtina. Good luck and goodbye.